Afghanistan to become terror battleground as ISIS and Taliban wage brutal war with beheadings, floggings and executions. Afghanistan risks becoming hell on earth as resurgent Taliban seize territory and open the door for the rise of terrorist groups such as ISIS. Security experts have grimly warned about the fate that awaits the Afghan people as the state risks descending into a terror battleground as the US withdraws its last troops after 2 decades. Within days, the last American soldier will leave Bagram Air Base after spending 20 years fighting after overthrowing Taliban, but they are feared to leave behind a nation on the verge of disaster. US General Scott Miller has warned the country is on the verge of civil war as Taliban militants have seized more than one-third of Afghanistan. That should be a concern to the world, said General Miller. And it is feared nation could become a new haven for terrorist forces wanting to strike out against the West, with the Sun Online revealing concerns new training camps could be operational by September. Professor Anthony Glees from the Center for Security and Intelligence Studies at the University of Buckingham said Taliban are now back with a vengeance, but the most immediate impact may be on the people of Afghanistan. They face being plunged back beneath the rule of a brutal regime who enforce strict versions of Islamic law and issue punishments such as beheading and torture, while atrocities committed by the terror groups are well documented, in particular by ISIS, who may seek to establish wild rule over parts of Afghanistan like they did in Iraq and Syria. Punishment handed out by terror groups including floggings, beheadings, hangings and crucifixions. Professor Glees told the Sun Online, the point is that Taliban are fanatics, the worst kind of enemy. They are in terms not just extremely brave because they love death like an Islamist, but are fighting for a belief, a religion. The word Taliban means religious today, not just political control. They will, once they have full control, return to type and do all the things they did before, persecute, torture and murder all who oppose them, enslave and degrade their fellow female citizens, prevent them from gaining an education, destroy anything that conflicts with their religious worldview. And meanwhile, Robert Clark from the national security think tank Henry Jackson Society warned other terror groups such as ISIS will look to stake their claim to Afghanistan. He said, while the Taliban may attempt to stick to peace terms agreed with the US, promising the nation will not be a haven for terrorists, other jihadi groups do not have to stick to such pledges. Mr. Clark told the Sun Online, whether will stick to that is another question, but they will be likely to do so to avoid US troops returning. But it doesn't mean they can control other terror groups such as ISIS, who will look to take advantage and will look to recruit and train there. They hold no such agreement. It could become a terror battleground. Taliban forces are reported to hang children as young as 12 after accusing them of spying and also burn people alive using gas stoves during their insurgency since the US invasion. Graphic videos have also emerged over the years have shown that them shooting groups of men after declaring them enemies of Islam, and one horrifying video featuring a woman being shot 9 times as she was accused of adultery, one of Taliban's so-called moral crimes. Samira Hamidi, South Asia campaigner at Amnesty International, told the Sun Online, we have seen nothing from the Taliban that suggests their attitude towards human rights has changed. With peace talks faltering and preparations for the full withdrawal of international forces gathering pace, Afghanistan sits at a dangerous crossroad. A full return to power would risk the reversal of 20 years of progress of women's rights, minority rights, freedom of expression, and freedom of the media. ISIS, who have a much smaller hold in Afghanistan, meanwhile, could bring some of the infamous punishments and tortures which they used while ruling swathes of Iraq and Syria. While videos became the norm showing brutal beheadings, men being burned alive or even drowned in cages during their surge around 2014. Other shocking accounts from within the so called Islamic State also included crucifixions, people being tossed from buildings or being hung like cattle in slaughterhouses before being sliced open. Mass graves continue to be uncovered in Iraq and Syria as the true horror of ISIS rule continue to become clear and fears loom. The terror cult is continuing to regroup. Mr. Clark told the Sun Online the Taliban as a group are diverse and clash at senior levels. They become more fractured, the worse it will become, and other terror groups likely to take advantage. Even if it's a not safe haven, day to day life will be reverted back to that of 1990s. Thank you.